Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Forever Wild. We are on the South Carolina Forestry Teachers Tour. It's a very interesting opportunity to get out and network with local community members in the forestry community and show you how forestry affects the entire state of South Carolina. We're here with Dean Carson. And Dean, tell us a little bit of the history about how this tour started.
Right, we managed to get involved with the Temperate Forest Foundation, who created this event and hosted the very first National Teachers Tour in South Carolina 20 years ago. And once that was done, the folks in South Carolina were so impressed with what had been done, they decided to continue it on the state level. So now we do it as a state program. And the Temperate Forest Foundation moved the program to other states, and it's now being done in 16 other states and 2 in Canada every summer.
The South Carolina Forestry Association is the lead organization for organizing the South Carolina Sustainable Forestry Teachers Tour. But we are not alone in putting on this event. This is a tremendous partnership of organizations, private, nonprofit, and government organizations that is hosted by the Forestry Association, by the South Carolina Forestry Commission, and the South Carolina Timber Producers Association. It's funded by the Sustainable Forestry Initiative member companies of South Carolina, but we have over 40 sponsors and contributors to help make this event a success for the teachers every year.
Our segment is it's called a supply chain. And you think of a chain, it's made of links. Well, you got the landowners growing the timber and managing it with foresters, and you got the timber harvesting segment that is harvesting a crop. Timber is the #1 cash crop in the state of South Carolina. And then you got the next link is the manufacturing segment. So, and the chain is only as strong as the links are. So
Right.
if you got a weak link, the chain won't hold. So that's what we call the wood supply chain. And I run the association and have a board of directors of 11 professional loggers. And I've got 2 members that were on the original board that, initially hired me back in 1999. But, our service is to the loggers, the wood dealers, and the timber trucking segment.
Forestry is just so important to our state on so many different faces. It's a huge economic impact, our engine to our state. $18.6 billion economic impact in our state each year.
Wow.
$1.5 billion of exports leave the state of South Carolina that are forest products. It's the #1 harvested crop in the state of South Carolina. Just has a huge economic impact on our state. It drives our rural economy here in South Carolina. But then, on top of that, you've got all these additional benefits you get from the forest. Clean air, clean water, wildlife habitat, beautiful places to visit. You get all these wonderful things from our forest, and so, we tend to call it our ideal industry because we can create these economic impacts and at the same time produce all these environmental benefits, societal benefits that we as South Carolinians enjoy.
Through the years, there's been a constant thing of getting public to accept what forestry practices. People see things they don't like and they react to it, but we know, behind the scenes, we know why it's done. And what we try to do is show people why things are being done, and once they understand the why, then it becomes more acceptable, so the public accepts it more. And the Teachers Tour is designed to get teachers out in the woods and on into the mills and things, stuff that they can't see just riding down the road.
Right.
You get in-depth knowledge of what's going on and what happens after that.
Excellent.
For instance, in harvesting, they see the trees are cut, obviously, but being on the tour here, we have foresters explain how the forests are regrown for the future.
We want this to be, really an eye-opening and fun experience, and we take our teachers out and we show them things that people just don't get to see every day. And there are, a lot of things that we want teachers to experience and learn about that the average citizen just doesn't get to go visit.
It's such a great opportunity for teachers to come and learn the facts about our industry.
Right.
You know, to a lot of people, what they see is reality. But that's not always the case. You know, you got to know a little about it to understand, you know, yes, we're harvesting timber, whether we're thinning, second thinning, or total harvesting a site, it's a silvicultural practice. It's like row crops. You can plant a row crop, but if you don't harvest it, you're not getting anything.
Right.
It just takes a little longer, or a lot longer, for our crop to grow than 100 acres of soybeans.
There's an aesthetic impact that happens when we harvest a forest, and it looks like a bomb went off when we first go out there and we remove all the trees from an area. But it's really not that dramatic of an impact, because just as soon as we remove those trees, growth starts to happen again. And we have things growing back there on that site. Deforestation is a huge impact, and that's when we take a forest and cut it and convert it to another use, like we take a forest and cut it and convert it to agricultural fields, or even worse, to a parking lot, to a subdivision. And then we'll never produce those same benefits from that plot of land. With a forest, we can remove the trees that are there and then grow a new crop of trees out there, and it's sustainable. We can do that over and over and over again, and at the same time, like I said, we're producing those economic benefits, and we're producing clean air, clean water, wildlife habitat. The wildlife actually needs that early successional habitat that we get from those harvests. So it's really, visually, it's a dramatic thing, but to the environment, the environment needs that. It needs to reset itself and grow again. So we need forest in place to filter our air, filter our water. You know, we're a very water-rich state here in the state of South Carolina, but without our forests, we can't filter that water and have clean drinking water. With all the pollution we're creating, releasing carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels and that kind of stuff, we need some way of sequestering that, storing it. And our forests can do that. The trees take up carbon dioxide, store it in the boles of the trees, in the wood, and then we can take that wood and use it for other things and store it for a long period of time, build houses with it, and it's stored in that wood for a long period of time. Our forests are critical to that. They've been holding our soil together, protecting our water for a long time. So.
And I try to convey that passion. But it's not just me. It's the forestry community. You know, you learn that, hey, we care. We do care. And we know what we're doing. You know, we're not, as I get told many times when I'm doing speeches or classroom programs, they're cutting all the trees. No, we're not. I promise you. For every one tree we harvest, we plant 5, or the good Lord, provided the site stays the same and remains sustainable, the good Lord's going to bring trees back.
This is Project Learning Tree, and Project Learning Tree is the environmental education curriculum that we use as part of our outreach to the public. And so Project Learning Tree is it's a program that's been around since 1973, and its motto is to teach students how to think, not what to think, about environmental issues. And so it is a resource that we use, and we also train teachers on how to use the resource of Project Learning Tree in their classrooms. So if a teacher is looking for active, fun, hands-on science activities in math, ELA, social studies, Project Learning Tree is a curriculum that can address all of those disciplines, everywhere from early childhood, middle school, all the way through high school. Harbison State Forest is almost 2,200 acres, and we have about 25 miles of trails. It is a multiple-use forest, so it is not a static forest that is just kind of sitting there. We are actively managing the forest for wood products as well. So we have hiking, mountain biking. We do have camping. Boy Scout groups can come out, and Girl Scouts can come out and go camping. And so, but we also harvest trees from our forest as well. So that we're getting multiple benefits out of our forest here. But it is open, to the public. All South Carolina citizens all have part ownership in our forest here.
Well, it's managed so that we continue to have the goods and services. In other words, we use our forest for various activities and whatnot, and we'll continue to have that, but we use the products from the forest to support our lives. Everything from paper to pencils and everything else. There are thousands and thousands of products that are made from wood. So in order to have these, we have to, harvest trees. In order to harvest trees, we have to make sure that we continue to regrow them.
As part of our management at Harbison State Forest, is we use fire as a tool to help manage our forests. And so during the teachers tour yesterday, we had a controlled burn, or a prescribed burn for our teachers, and it was just a small demonstration burn, just about 2.5 acres. But we burned yesterday, and this is still smoke that's coming up from a stump that's just still smoldering.
Right.
And not a huge danger right now, but something that we want to keep an eye on, of course.
Sure.
But that could keep smoldering for a long time till maybe we get a rainstorm or something like that and put it out.
Wow, well, that's significant. Now, speaking about controlled burns here, does this kill the forest when you burn it off like that?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so it doesn't look good right now.
Right.
However, it does kill off some plants and some trees, but we have a reason for doing that. So we have species in there that we don't want. As you can see, if we, looking at these trees behind us, they're very, very thick right now.
Right.
And so there's really too much competition going on in there, and so the fire is actually a natural part of the ecosystem that for a long time in different places has been removed from the ecosystem. And so what we're doing here is we're trying to reintroduce that natural part of the environment, and so we're kind of mimicking nature by setting these fires here.
Right.
Because naturally fires would burn through our forests periodically, and affect the species composition. And things that are adapted to fire will live. Things that are not adapted to fire would die. But that's part of nature.
Well, we really appreciate your contributions. You were one of the people that came together and created our center where we work at Playcard Environmental Education Center. He was on the founding board, idea board generators when they first made that center. You came together to give some ideas to the center. And we appreciate that. You were a big contributor to that. We definitely thank you. And we thank you for giving us this opportunity of being on a teacher tour. We've had a fantastic 3 days. We've got about 4 more days to go.
Yeah.
We're just looking forward to every single day. We appreciate your work. We appreciate what forestry does for the state of South Carolina. A lot of people need to get out there and learn more about forestry. It's a great opportunity for the public to get engaged with nature and the environment in a way that's hands-on and it's economically sustainable. So it's a really great mission that you guys have. Thank you very much,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Appreciate you for what you do.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.